Word of advice from me. If you're looking for environments in life to allow for musical immersion, where it's of advantage to you and your schedule, I would tell you, because I've done this myself, in fact, it's the inspiration to why I'm approaching the Maiden and the Child other than XANDRIA credit, pick situations in which you have nothing better to do and you need a way for the world to pass you by, but still be entertaining. For example, 10 hours of lawn mowing. Straight. Well, actually, in this case, it's a mix. Either you could save a lawn mowing image or cutting trees for 9 hours in the rain. Either way, pick the one you want. Intensive yard work. You need a way to pass the time and still feel like, I'm still getting something out of life. I'm not just like a walking zombie. There you go. XANDRIA will be to your liking, because this is what occurred to me in my midst of 9 hours of tree cutting. That our return journey needed to be broadened out. I knew, in particular, with The Wonder Still Awaiting, in retrospect, I do wish I'd done a full album deep dive. I've done that from time to time with other artist credits, and I cover a wide field of talents here, but XANDRIA, this album was, of course, my first introduction to their work, beyond the Amber Vouverhees bridge from what came through the Mortimia collab, and that's what brought me into XANDRIA, which I immediately fast-tracked after witnessing that track, and I've not regretted any step I've given this group. This album in particular, something special. And I know XANDRIA fans might credit other albums as well. I have to think back on my previous experience. This is the album that initiated the discovery to XANDRIA for me. I found it to be quite a welcoming entry within symphonic metal. I've absolutely loved it. Though XANDRIA, speaking widely of their field, they're an impressive group whatever era you look at, just in what I've humored personally. It's going to be a long journey with this group. To our destination point, you'll see where we're getting at, but oh man, I knew when we'd come back and make a return journey to a favorite group of mine of German origin, I believe in the symphonic metal vein, which is a favorite aspect of me in the metal world. Big metalhead of many years. And music for me, definitive first love, that I love enjoying in company with all of you, and hoping that perhaps some of us approach in different respects. XANDRIA fans, I know many of you approach from that degree. I welcome you, but any initiate listeners, I hope there are some of you, but this will be a fresh discovery. The Maiden and the Child, on retrospective, in fact, the first time I listened to it when I was cutting trees, I did an immediate rewind. I don't remember exactly, though, how it sounded. I've taken some time away from the Maiden and the Child to give you as fresh of a taste of it as possible. And maybe once it cues up, I'll remember it exactly, but maybe there's some things I've forgotten. Again, I wish I'd done a full album deep dive on First Impression Witness of all of you. But next best thing, Reintroduction, an individual spotlight into what I thought was a great XANDRIA number. Though the reasons escape me at the moment why, other than the XANDRIA credit, I'm going to be reminded, I'm sure, once I cue up the song. And for any fresh initiates, maybe this will be your first entrance to XANDRIA. Get prepared. We're taking a deep dive with this group, other than one more recent release. After we get to that point, then we're heading for the races with XANDRIA. We're going to have quite a wild ride with them. I can't wait for each step individually. But maybe this is your first taste. Maybe this is your first step into the European metal world. I hope you like it. I've developed quite an addiction, understandably. And I think you will too. Not to speak for anybody, but European music commands an individual reverence. Especially in the metal application within symphonic metal exclusively, you'll see why. Here we go, though. Maiden and the Child. I remember loving this one. Let's remind myself as to why, specifically. So far, it's funny, it still feels fresh. No, I remember this one. So there's our ancient Fred, right? We're spiraling down the sensation of symphony. Just great. Isn't it? You consider cinematic quality in music, and XANDRIA so far on this album has readily presented that. I remember it now. And whenever you throw in a choir, I'm all ears. And to me, this just represents a perfect balancing on aggressiveness and subtlety. There's such a class to this. The narratives too for this album, I love the theming of it. It's an incredibly open collection, but the adventures of the destination, something beautiful. I love the seeming off-key touch on that end trail with the last Us. And to let it linger too in isolation, it's a great choice. I love whenever Uncle raises her voice like that. And again, it's just so even. And return to that opener too. Special. Incredible. I love the clarity of the higher pitched vocals and that operatic structure. You hear it, right? I mean, the entire choir medley is fine, but it's that one voice, like, that's special. There's a great proficiency of articulation with this, again, in the broadness and the imagined, or the real-world integration, depending on how you look at it. The sentiment, though, just easily connects. I just love how it cuts off. I mean, again, that's a tempting transition into the next number, Hysteria, which concludes the album, but you know, I told you, I stayed away from this one for a bit intentionally. I'm kind of glad I did. Instantly, though, I connect back again with the effect of this piece. The minute you start, that spiral effect, you feel like you're circulating down this symphonic trail, just being led by proficiency and atmosphere and delivery. The balance, again, on the dominance in the symphonic root, with the strings, but letting that just take you away into the choir effect. It's such a good play with this song. In fact, as you initiate, I mean, it's a familiarized, I would say, based on the Wonder Still Awaiting tracking, it's a familiarized key to their execution, but it's a good choice. I mean, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And with this one, I mean, again, I like the nature of this album in particular. And generally speaking, The Wonder Still Awaiting is such an inviting release on concept. I found the theme, again, it's quite even in terms of the transition between different works from one to another. You see that mapping. The Maiden and the Child is no different. Even if, again, our vantage points might differ, there's that allowance with music, again. Intentional, I believe, broad storytelling, but again, with such a competence that you immediately just feel ingrained with the work. If you're somebody that admires originalist artistry like me, you see that delivery so readily in European music. But with XANDRIA, I just love that tone that they capture so beautifully. It parodies real world application and concepts in a way that is so emotional. For example, make no mistake, I won't let go, I'll walk through the ashes of my holy war. I've not heard phrasing like that, and it's a particularly adventurous line. Plus, lyrics are one of the first things I notice as somebody who graduated in an English field. That's what I majored in, so it's one of the instant pulls for me. We're like, oh, creative expression and originalist writing? That's immediately attractive, give me more, please. And XANDRIA readily does that. The independent vision, though, again, blended with that symphonic tone, and the proficiency of execution. And by the way, the evolution on the chorus sections and the balance on Amber's vocals is just so pleasing, but the way it trails off to the to save us part, it's just such a... I love the way it lingers, don't you? This album, again, this was my first initiation into the XANDRIA world, so our roots might vary, right? I'm speaking to other XANDRIA listeners. Some of you approach an earlier date. But I'm sure it'll be to equal competence. Well, I know it will be based on the semblance of pieces I've humored. And I've tried to maintain a bit of a distant doorway intentionally, so most of those encounters can be fresh. And generally they will be. I hope if you're somebody that's initiating with them, like I did several months ago, the main and the child was to your liking, and sparks an interest to dig deeper. We will be with XANDRIA, and I think it'll be a rewarding experience for you. But presently, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this number, and from whatever angle you approach, if you are in fact an initiate listener or a longtime fan, how do you feel about this particular piece? And maybe the wonder still awaiting in general. Again, I wish I'd done a full album deep dive on Impression first, but at the very least, again, I could do that, except we're covering a lot of XANDRIA pieces, and I have a lot of art that I want to consult in the near future, so I want to afford space where necessary. We will be with XANDRIA. If you wish you'd had that experience, get ready. We're going to be enjoying XANDRIA in a much greater depth. So that's all I'll say. Again, with the end point, I'm going to keep veiled for now. But as we go through, maybe I'll voice it, when we get to closer points. Maybe I'll leave you hanging. You'll see why. But I found at the very least the last two numbers of Entertained with respect to, in different videos, Illusion Is Her Name and now The Maiden and the Child, were worth showcasing, especially with this one, being reminded again of its glamour. I love the execution of XANDRIA. Welcome new favorite to me. I've loved everything I've humored from them since, and I'm sure as we keep an open door policy to anything new. In fact, I believe the next number is in fact a newer release. Yes. Fun days are ahead with XANDRIA. I can't wait for more, and we will be getting a lot of that in the very near future. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.